Admiral Zexthak clicked his mandibles in satisfaction as he reviewed the intelligence reports on his holographic display. The blue-green planet below them, designated as Earth by its inhabitants, seemed almost pathetically defenseless. The orbital scans showed vast cities with no visible energy shields, primitive projectile weapons, and transportation that relied on chemical combustion. Most amusing of all were the creatures the humans kept as pets, small domesticated versions of what their databases suggested were once fierce predators. "These humans have made their world soft," Zexthak announced to his bridge crew. "They've tamed everything, even their own predatory instincts. This will be the easiest conquest in hegemony history." The Catharian warfleet hung in Earth's outer atmosphere like metallic storm clouds, 300 vessels strong, each one capable of reducing a continent to ash. For 6 cycles they had studied human civilization, cataloging weaknesses and planning their inevitable subjugation. The humans had noticed them, of course, and had sent various primitive signals attempting communication. Zexthak had ignored them all. What was there to discuss with soon-to-be slaves? Lieutenant Vexhai, the fleet's xenobiologist, shifted nervously at his station. "Admiral, there are some anomalies in the deep ocean scans. Large life forms that don't match our databases." "Irrelevant." Zexthak cut him off with a dismissive wave of his clawed appendage. "Prepare the subjugation bombardment. Target their military installations first, then their centers of government. Leave the agricultural regions intact. We'll need the food production." As the fleet powered their weapons arrays, a low-frequency sound began emanating from Earth's oceans. It started as barely a whisper in the electromagnetic spectrum, but grew steadily stronger. Sonar operators across the planet's navies scrambled to identify the source. While marine biologists checked instruments they assumed were malfunctioning. Dr. Sarah Chen, director of the Pacific Marine Research Institute, stared at her screens in disbelief. "That's impossible," she whispered. "The amplitude readings are off the charts. Nothing biological could produce sounds at this frequency and volume. But deep in the Mariana Trench something stirred, something that had slumbered for millennia, undisturbed by the small surface dwellers and their floating vessels. The electromagnetic signatures of the alien fleet had awakened responses in neural pathways older than human civilization." Aboard the flagship Conquest of Worlds, Zexthak was about to give the attack order when his sensor operator's voice cracked with panic. "Admiral!" Massive displacement event in Earth's primary ocean. "Something is rising." The holographic display shifted to show the Pacific Ocean. What emerged defied every xenobiological model in their databases. The creature was vast beyond comprehension, easily 20 kilometers from head to tail, with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed along its hide like living constellations. Ancient eyes, each larger than a Catharian destroyer, fixed upon the alien fleet with primordial intelligence. "By the 7 hells," breathed Vexhai. "Sir, this organism..." "Its neural complexity readings are similar to our own. This isn't just an animal, it's sapient." The creature, which human legends would have called Leviathan, assessed the threat above with senses evolved in the deepest places of Earth's oceans. It could feel the electromagnetic hatred radiating from the metal shells, could taste the fear and aggression of the beings within. These were predators, but not the kind that belonged in its domain. Zexthak regained his composure first. "So Earth has one large sea beast. Target it with everything we have." The order was barely transmitted before the creature moved. Despite its impossible size, it rose from the depths with fluid grace, water cascading from its form like falling oceans. The pressure wave alone capsized vessels for hundreds of kilometers. But that was merely the beginning. As the Catharian fleet opened fire, expecting their energy weapons to slice through biological tissue like heated blades through soft wax, something extraordinary happened. The creature's hide wasn't just skin. It was a complex organic matrix that had evolved under crushing deep-sea pressures and thermal vents. The energy beams struck the bioluminescent patterns and were absorbed, redirected, amplified through biological processes that made Catharian technology seem primitive. Impossible. Zexthak shrieked as his fleet's own weapons fire was turned back upon them, concentrated into coherent beams that sliced through ship hulls like they were paper. "It's using our energy against us." The creature's response was swift and terrible. It hadn't survived in Earth's deepest trenches for millions of years by being gentle. Appendages that could withstand the pressure of 5 ocean floors wrapped around Catharian destroyers, crushing them like insects. its song, for that's what the low-frequency emissions were, called to others of its kind, sleeping in trenches around the globe. Dr. Chen watched her instruments, in awe as similar signatures appeared off the coasts of every continent. "They're waking up," she whispered. "All of them." The Atlantic Kraken rose off the coast of Norway, its tentacles spanning the distance between countries. The Arctic Leviathan breached through polar ice caps thick enough to support cities. In the Indian Ocean, something with too many eyes and scales that shimmered like captured starlight began its ascent. Admiral Zexthak realized with growing horror that humanity hadn't tamed their world's predators. They had simply never encountered the real ones. These beings had been content to remain in the depths, undisturbed by the small mammals scurrying about on the surface. But the presence of hostile aliens had triggered defensive mechanisms older than terrestrial vertebrates. "Retreat," Zexthak commanded as another section of his fleet disappeared into what appeared to be a living whirlpool. Full retreat. But retreat was no longer an option. The creatures had surrounded the fleet with tactical precision that spoke of intelligence vast and patient. They moved in coordinated patterns, herding the alien ships like wolves corralling prey. The last transmission from the Catharian warfleet was Admiral Zexthak's voice, high and breaking with terror. "Command, abort all Earth operations. The humans, they haven't tamed anything. They're protected by—" The signal cut to static as the Pacific Leviathan's jaws closed around the flagship. In the depths of their oceanic domain, the ancient guardians of Earth slowly descended back to their eternal watch. The threat had been eliminated with minimal effort. The small surface dwellers could continue their brief, bright existence unaware of the titans that shared their world. Humanity's radio telescopes recorded the aliens' retreat, the few ships that managed to escape Earth's gravity while broadcasting warnings on every frequency. "Avoid the third planet. The beasts there are not tame, they're just sleeping." And in the deepest trenches of Earth's oceans, patient eyes closed once more, content to wait for the next threat that dared disturb their ancient peace.